Let's do the hidden message JavaScript assignment. The idea in this one is if we have a bunch of text, whether that's song lyrics or a story or a script from a movie or something, and we want to hide a message in it. There's a lot of different ways people can do this, but one popular thing people do sometimes is to capitalize all the characters of whatever it is the message they're trying to send. So if you look carefully here, you'll notice this whole thing is lowercase until you get to the letter T here. And then it's lowercase, lowercase, and then an E, and then a capital L, and then a capital E, another T. And so it's a little off, right? You start to put these pieces together, and you realize, oh, that spells out something. In this case, these are the lyrics from the song by Justin Bieber, the song Baby. And the message is Teletubbies. So this is something the program I created was able to do all by itself. And that's what the assignment you guys are going to create will do. You just give it a bunch of text, whether that's song lyrics or a story or whatever, and then it's going to capitalize some of these characters to spell out a message. And I got this idea from a Taylor Swift thing she does. She used to, I don't know if she still does this, don't ask me how I know about it, but she would hide the name of whoever she wrote the song for inside of the album cover with the lyrics. So there's a song called Enchanted that she wrote for the lead singer of Owl City, or I guess it's just one guy, Adam Young. Anyway, so she put Adam, capitalized the letter A-D-A-M in that song lyrics. Anyway, okay, so now you know. So that's just a little bit of background for what this assignment is. Now let's start doing it. The first step, it says to set up the HTML elements. And it says you'll need a text area and an input, just like on the previous assignments. And you'll also need a button. So I'm expecting you to do a little bit more on your own this time, aren't I? Huh? Well, let's see. Luckily, we have access to the previous assignments. We could easily copy and paste in the HTML from these. But no, let's do it from scratch. Let's just make a new file, and let's do like it says. Let's add a text area element, and it's not auto-completing this for me because I haven't set it to the HTML yet, but that's okay. So we added a text area element. Let's add an input, and let's add a button. Close button tag. All right, let's save it. Okay. So I'm going to save this as hidden message.html. Now you see it highlights the syntax. That's good. And it says to give the text area an ID. And we could give it whatever ID we want. Let's maybe just choose that one it suggested. It said large text might be a good idea. So let's say ID equals large text. And then the next one, we need to give an ID to the input field. Might as well call that message field. So this is going to represent the thing that's going to be hidden. Let's say ID equals message field. Save that. And then we want to give the button an on-click event that will call a JavaScript function. So let's just say on-click equals hide message. That could be a good name for a function that we haven't yet created, but we will. And then step 5 says add a script element to the HTML. Oh, whoops, looks like I didn't even have the HTML surrounding this, but here's a little secret. You don't actually need to declare something to be HTML. It would still interpret that correctly. Most browsers are very flexible, very lenient when it comes to things like this. They'll just try their best, and they'll assume things wherever they need to. But it's a good idea to specify that it's an HTML file. So yeah, we encase everything in these two HTML opening and closing tags. And then let's add in the script tag and add in the function called hide message, open curly bracket, closing curly bracket. And then I think that's the only function we'll need, so we don't really need anything else below there. Step 6 says inside of the script, create that function. Well, we just did that. Good for us. Step 7 says inside of that function, we need to create a variable that will reference the text area. Now, The text area, of course, has the ID large text. So let's just create a variable that accesses that element. Perfect. And then we can access the value that that HTML element holds inside of it by saying, hey, whatever you have inside of you, your value, I need to store that somewhere. So we say large text equals that. Okay. Step 9 says we also need to make a variable to hold the current value of the input field. Just like we did it with the large text, the text area one, we need to do the same thing with the input. Because we need to know what we're hiding. We already know where to hide it. Now we need to know what to hide inside of that. So we'll say var message to hide is just going to equal whatever we get when we access the message field and ask for its value. So basically, we did both of these steps previously. For the other one, we did it in just one step. Now you can take a shortcut if you want for the other one too, but whatever. Okay. Actually, there is a reason why I accessed this individually, and that's so later I can change its value really easily. All right, the last variable we need is a counter to know which letters of the hidden message we've already hidden. So we're just going to start that out right after these other variables are created. Create a variable called message index. This is going to represent where the current spot we're looking at is. And then we need to repeatedly look at each of the characters of the big text one by one. So I'm just going to copy in that code here, a for loop, our favorite way to access characters of text individually. And then inside of that loop, we need to access each individual character, save it as a variable. Step 14 says, let's create a variable for that current character of the message we're trying to hide. Actually, so that's different. We need to access what we're trying to hide inside the big text. So we're dealing with two different messages here. We're dealing with the large text, which in the case of this example is the lyrics to a song. And then we're also dealing with the message that we're trying to hide. So in this case, well, they hid the message Teletubbies. T-E-L-E-T-U-B. Yeah, you get that idea. So that's what's inside of message to hide. So we're accessing each character of each of those two messages for the purpose of hiding the ones in this one inside of this one. Okay. Hopefully that's clear. And we want to use a condition to check if they are the same, because if we're going through the big text and we find the letter T, that's where we want to capitalize it if we're trying to hide the word Teletubbies. So it'll capitalize that T, and then we need to increase the index of that message so that the next time it's looking for the character E, and that's where it finds the E. So yeah, we check if they're the same as we're going through the loop, and that's on step 15. So we'll say, if those two characters are the exact same, we will set the modified large text, which I forgot to create apparently. Modified large text needs to be another variable. So let's put that right above message index. This is going to hold the entire text of the thing we're creating. Basically, it's going to be another variable that holds all of this, but the modified version of it with the hidden message inside it. Okay, so it starts out as nothing, but in the case where we find the matching characters between the two messages, that's where we want to append a character to it. So we either need to append the capital version, oops, that's not supposed to be a space there, and then we need to increase the message index so that next time it looks for the next character. Or if it's not the same, we need to use the else case and just append a lowercase version. So let's indent that. Oops. Save it. Step 17. After the loop is complete, we need to set the value of that output area to be that modified version of the text. Oh, lives, and that's after it's complete, right? So that would be right here, after the loop is done. And then the very last thing is to hide that message from the message field. So if we don't want people to know what we hid inside it, let me show you what that looks like. Let's open this. Now that we've written the whole thing, we're going to actually test it, see if it really works. So I do Control O to open. I do hidden message, and there it is. And it's kind of hard to tell what this thing does because we just have a button without any text on it, and we have a text area and we have an input field. But let's test it anyway. This will hide a message. Let's try to hide the message hi. And I click, and it worked. See, it capitalized the H and the I there. Perfect. What about this? Will this hide a message correctly? And let's try hello. Let's see if that exists. It looks like it hid the H, the E, and then one L, but it wasn't able to hide the whole thing because we didn't have enough text, and that's totally fine. So this works correctly. It functions how it's supposed to. The one thing I would say we need to add is maybe text on this button, and then I guess we should probably also have placeholder text in these message fields so people know what to type. So let's say inside of these button tags, let's say hide message. So we save that, refresh this. Now it says hide message. Good. We also want to put some placeholder text. Placeholder equals enter large text where the message will be hidden. You could type whatever you want here, but I think that's fine. We should also make this a little bigger, I think. Let's say rows equals 50 or 30, calls equals 80 maybe. Save that, refresh, looks good. We can also do a break after it. So BR tag means move to the next line. So now the message field is on the next line. I think that looks good. And then the input one, let's give that a placeholder. Let's say placeholder equals message to hide. And let's save that. Perfect. So enter large text where the message will be hidden, and then message to hide, and then a button that says hide message. Alright, so let's try this one more time. Let's try it with lyrics to, oh, I don't know, sunflower. And I'm not going to save the whole thing, who cares? Let's just paste that all in there. Hopefully there's nothing bad in those lyrics. I haven't actually looked at them very meticulously. But let's try to hide the message. This was written for Mr. Rogers. And then we hide it. So if somebody were to look through here, they would find T-H-I, this was written for Mr. Rogers. Yeah. Cool, huh? So you can turn that in, submit that file.